Today, we're making homemade dog food. People constantly asking me what we feed the dogs, what to feed the puppy when they get the puppy. So today, I'm going to make a recipe. The hardest thing I was trying to figure out was how do I store the dog food? And boom, I figured it out. It took me a long time to figure it out. But I was watching Richard Dewberry from The Foundation Raw. And that's where I'm going to be recommending people get their dog from. He's a black gentleman from Louisiana. Richard Dewberry, The Foundation Raw. But today we're making it at home. We're making our version. And we're going to be talking about that dog food and we're going to be talking about our dog food that we're making. But the hardest thing I wanted to do is how do I store the dog food once I make it? Put in these individual bags. One bag go to one dog. He concurs. So I got all these ingredients. This was 10 pounds of pork. I paid $20.50 for this 10 pounds of pork. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this gelatinous skin of the pork off. This is the part that's going to contain the omegas, the omega 3s, and it's also going to contain, this pork also contains a lot of the stuff for the bones and the hips and the bones, glucosamines and chondroitins. So the first thing we're gonna do is mix this up. We actually have all this fat that came from when we rendered this down, when we cooked this down, slow cooked at 225. So we got the fat, and we got, some of the fat. We're gonna break it down with the fat. Boom. Now, that's broken down. We're going to break it down a little bit more, guys. We're going to break it down a little bit more. Now, we did that. As you can see, that's a nice gelatinous mixture. We're going to put that in here. This right here in this pot is actually some stews. What did you make with that, baby? Some stews. My baby made some stews. It's actually some icing from a 3-tier cake, and actually the rest of that pink bulk up. If you don't know what pink bulk up is, you can watch the video. But in a nutshell, this is a mixture of different fats, whey protein or milk powder, lamb fat, beef fat, and pork fat. So this is just a concoction and a mixture basically of different fats. And there's actually 1 or 2 lamb rib bones in there for flavoring. And some carrots and stuff. My wife made a stew. So the only thing about this is it has a lot of sugar in it. It has a lot of fat in it, which bulks up your dog, especially if you have dogs that do a lot of work or dogs that live in a tough environment. Sometimes we leave our dogs outside in the 23-degree weather. Next, we have 2 pounds of oats. 2 pounds of oats. 2 pounds, 10 ounces of oats. And we're going to break this down in here and have the oatmeal absorb this fat. So this is the first thing we're going to do. This dog food right here is going to be it's got a lot of protein and a lot of fat in it. So we're just breaking it down and mixing it up with the fat. We want to get a nice consistency because basically I came up with the pink bulk up, which is something you can add to the food each day. But I realized you can just take this food and package it in these bags. I was watching Richard Dewberry from The Foundation Raw. He just cut the bags open and was feeding his dogs. And then a spark went off in my mind. But this is very hard to make and very inconvenient. And not a lot of people who have $60 to whip up dog food each week. Not a lot of people have it. But now I'm mixing the grains up. Normally what I was doing was making dog food that was like 65 to 70% grain and the other half meats and fats. But what I realize is the dogs actually need a lot more. The dogs need actually a lot more proteins than anything else. So next we have this pork that, you know, I put in the crock pot. This was 10 pounds. I was a bone in here. I took the bone out and I gave the bone to the puppies on a string. You can watch that video. So I'm breaking all this meat up, you know, so that it can be evenly dispersed. It's really hot right now. You shouldn't probably touch it. You probably should wait till it cool down, but I'm just going in. So I'm just trying to get this video done fast as possible. So this is a lot more fats, guys. Different fats though, from pig fat, which is a lot different than than the chicken. What we're doing is we feed a lot of chicken, but I feel like the amount of meat you see on the chicken is more of an illusion. The solid part of the chicken is really showing up like they're having a lot of trouble pooing out the bone. So I could grind the bone up, but I have to buy a grinder. The grinder's like $500. And that's a whole nother process. Or I could just do what I'm doing now. So as you can see, I got the meats in there. That's the pork. Now, guaranteed, the dog food you buy at the store does not have that much meat in one bag. Guaranteed. So this is some oat flour. I brought these high protein oat pancakes. Horrible. Didn't like them, so feed them to the dogs. Help bring it all together. Next, I'm gonna use this. We're just gonna mix all the meats first. Next, we got 5 pounds of ground beef. Now I only got this 5 pounds of ground beef. I know I saw a knife. I don't know where it went. Here it goes. Got the 5 pounds of ground beef. One thing you'll know about this ground beef, when you watch Richard Dewberry from Beef Foundation Raw, his meat, he'll show you the ground beef, it's a lot of fat in this. And they use a leaner cut of meat, and we'll talk about that when we get to those versions of the meat. But it's a lot of meat, but this meat is a lot of fat. So if your dog is already overweight, you don't want to probably give this to them. But I have like nursing female dogs, nursing puppies, and I have bullies, like dogs that are big and gigantic. So the fat is not going to, you know, do them no harm, especially since it's wintertime and we leave them out sometimes. But I'm definitely going to go leaner. I'm going to go a lot leaner, but it's a lot of fat in this. So we're going to mix this in there. This is the next meat. Now that was 5 pounds of ground beef. 5 pounds. This stuff is jam-packed full of fat. I mean, you can't get more fat than this. Fat and also carbs. You know, you want to try to get a thorough mix, but it's only but so much you can do. It's a lot of fat, guys. Next, we got 3 pounds of turkey. 3 pounds. This is really high in protein and very low in fat. So this is something that you definitely can use If you're trying to make it less fat and more protein, you definitely can use this. You can use the turkey instead of the beef, or so much beef. But like I say, for bullies, we like to bulk it up. Now this is a hell of a amount of work, right, guys? But if I scoop this out right, it's gonna last me a week, and it should be a lot less poo, and the dogs are gonna be super healthy, super meaty. And some dogs are not putting on weight, like especially King, my Cane Corso, and my American Bully. They're really not putting on the weight that they need to, and they're always hungry. But with something like this, the goal is to feed them a lot less food and a lot less food, but more nutrients. This shit right here, woo, it's jam packed. They're gonna tear it up. Now that brings me to our next meat. We're gonna do this next meat, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit. Now, when you do a raw feed, a lot of those raw feeds contain internal organs, kidneys, liver, and something called tripe, which is a part of the stomach. And they have other parts of the stomach that they're feeding, kidneys, all types of stuff. You got these livers, whatever. So when you're doing a complete raw diet, they always keep saying, add this, add these organs. And I guess, pour those in there. Take a look at that. That's where you get that blood from, and that deep dark color. And if you look on there, this stuff is 38% protein. So this stuff is really high in protein. And it's supposed to have iron in it too. 29% vitamin A and 60% iron. So they are correct. If you ever listen to Fit Bully TV or Richard Dewberry from D Foundation Raw, or anyone that, or they always saying add the organ meat. But here's the kicker. This is the part I want you guys to understand. My dogs don't like this stuff. They won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, and because they're not used to it. So that's a big thing I want you to understand. If you put your dog on a raw diet, the dog might necessarily want to eat this because he's not used to it. And yes, it will tear their stomachs up. The tripe, the trachea, the lungs, the guts. It will make the dog have diarrhea because the dog is not used to eating it. How do I know? Because I've had tubes of this special dog food. I don't know. We used to buy it. And my man Junior used to buy these tubes of meats that you're supposed to give to the bullies, and they wouldn't touch it. So just realize when you do switch them over to that type of food, it's going to be problems with the digestive system, and they won't eat it. Especially my dogs won't eat it. I did not know that this stuff contains 60% iron. I didn't know anything in this world had 60% iron. And then you got 29%. Man, that's a 290% vitamin A. 290% of vitamin A. That's crazy. And it's 40% protein. I didn't know that. So now you can see how. No, I'm gonna do one at a time. Why? Let me tell you. So basically, the dogs don't like to eat this, right? They don't want it. But if I blend it and put it in the blend, they won't even know they're eating it. And I'm gonna add some of this snorty pig fat. They won't even know what they're eating. I'm sneaking their medicine to them. But now that I know that, man, I can make a blend.
Is this locked? No. That doesn't lock.
I'm going to make a blend out of this. I had no idea till today, as we're doing this video, that was 209% vitamin A. Ridiculous. So look, I'm pouring that in there. I didn't know that. So now that I know this, you can just do a lot of those blends of that. So this is 20 ounces, 1 pound, 5 ounces of these livers. These are $2, I believe, or more. I think it was $2. It was $63 for everything. But I'm telling you, like, if you guys are watching this channel, you're growing with me. You're growing with me now. Grow with me. So look at that. All that vitamin A and all that protein. That's very high in protein. Very high. My dog's gonna look the best in the whole county. Now they'll never know they're eating they'll never know that they're eating. They'll never know it, man. So next. So they're always talking about the organs. And I was always saying, man, I don't need no organs. No organs. But I said, man, but when you listen to people that are doing greater things than what you are, or doing, or in positions that you want to get in, and you're listening to those people, the bell should be ringing. Listen to them. Listen to what they're saying. So I listened, and lo and behold, I just found out this 60% iron. So that means my dog's blood will be doing great. I could make a blend with just these livers and pork, you know, beef fat. I could make it cheap as I want to, or as expensive as I want to. So these are little berries, you know.